I can see
Nothing
my
crashed.
friends.
Nothing crashed.
Right
Yeah.
on. Yeah, let's see how this goes. Welcome to Rad Pod and Chill. We just had our future Moses on a Motorbike bloopers remix that we were just demoing for you guys. 8 minutes and 44 seconds of a future Moses on a Motorbike remix. No, seriously, you know that the gentleman that I do the show with, they're not big fans of Elon Musk, and Sean Connor has a legit reason today.
God damn.
Uh, why don't you just do a quick recap again for
Yeah.
those who hadn't heard it?
So Elon has been building this gigafactory, Austin, for a few years, so 2 years now. And he just so happened to locate it 1.5 miles, 2 miles from my house. Which everybody's like, oh, the property value is gonna go up, and I'm like, well, fucking great, eventually. But anyway, in the meantime, the traffic has been getting increasingly bad. Tonight, he's having his Gigafactory kickoff launch party, I guess. He invited 15,000 of his for 15,000 people. Um, so, but it's a family, no families, so adults only, no kids. 15,000 people to his kickoff party, and they have fireworks that they were going to launch at 9 p.m. And these aren't like regular just pick up on the side of the road fireworks. These are like the loudest fucking like industrial cannon, like the deep, deep boom. The ones where you see like downtown, 4th of July classical music, the fireworks loud as fuck, man. And they were testing them last week, and I was like, there's no way I can stay here. 15,000 people, and we're on like a little farm to market road, right by the airport outside of town. And so 15,000 people trying to get in on that one lane little road is going to be an absolute nightmare. So I'm at an Airbnb out by the lake, and that's why we're having some technical difficulties. But that's all I got.
Is it so weird that I can smell Hi-Fi's weed?
That is weird.
It must be some sort of memory
This
magic.
isn't. This is a beedi. This is an Indian herbal cigarette. Technically,
Oh,
So,
in
I mean,
in Ohio, it's against the law to smoke joints.
oh, interesting. I'm glad
really?
to know that. Banana leaf
Yeah,
stuff. Very
yeah. No,
nice.
you're only allowed to vaporize or ingest. You're not allowed to smoke.
I've always wanted to vaporize. Um,
What's that? That doesn't make
that's,
any sense.
it's from Star
That
Trek, when they,
no, 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 no. That is the medical establishment in the state of Ohio stating that smoking joints is bad for you because you ingest volatile organic compounds.
Mm.
So they don't want you to hurt your lungs.
That makes
Vaporizing does not actually produce volatile organic compounds.
so when you have your cadence is hilarious when you get stoned because you go like this and then you go like this and then you talk
And I
like
go
this
like
and then you go like
this, do that.
this.
But here's the funny thing about the medical marijuana laws in Ohio. See, by law in Ohio, the state government was required, the licensing board was required to be completely transparent about the awarding of production license for marijuana in Ohio, and they were not. There was no discussion. There were forms that were supposed to be filled out; those were never released. The whole thing just reeks of corruption, honestly.
Yeah,
Reeks.
marijuana, yeah, yeah.
Jim, what say you?
About what?
Anything.
Elon Musk?
Fuck
Yes.
Elon Musk. Oh, sorry.
Oh man.
I
Yes.
mean, listen,
Sorry.
Twitter is fucked up. Let's
Mhm.
be clear. No company that is being forced by Elon Musk to be on the board of directors and basically co-CEO with a guy who was put in there by the dude who is the chairman of the Manhattan Institute. If you fucking think the Twitter has your best interests at heart, I have a different idea for you.
Yeah.
And
It doesn't.
that's a sad thing because I was thinking about that today driving home from work, that the four of us met because of Twitter. And so many of the people
Mm,
who
yeah.
have supported me and I've supported them and the newspaper I write for, all that intersected because of Twitter. Unfortunately, as we talk about, it's not a pure play and it's been weaponized. And you guys
Mm-hmm.
are examples of how it's been weaponized. And I do think that it is very unsafe. Somebody asked me something in a DM the other day, somebody I love who supports the show that I'm friends with, an incredibly successful producer. And I knew I couldn't answer her because I don't trust the platform. It scares me. It scared me for a while, but I
Hmm.
think now with this news, we are all going to have to find new homes and new ways to network because, as Hi-Fi said on our episode with Nadine Smith from Equality, Florida, trolling season is over. How can trolling season be over when a troll of his status and bank account is, now basically, on, as you noted, on the board and major
He,
shareholder and
the
Hmm.
term for it is anarcho-capitalist.
right,
Hmm.
yeah, right,
Anarcho-capitalist is an extremely important concept. It is a whole thing on the left with especially extremely wealthy libertarians.
Hmm.
yeah,
Basically, the idea is they already have money, and so they feel like there should be no laws at all so that they can get the rest of it,
right,
literally.
Hmm.
If
And
there are no
so
laws at all, bad things happen.
Elon Musk
well, yeah,
has a third of $1 billion, which is why he was able to muscle his way into the Twitter board, and he's definitely getting all, Trump and God knows probably all the QAnon accounts back. Like it's gonna be a shit show.
yeah,
So
right.
honestly, I think we need to find
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
isn't going to be run by a bunch of psychopaths who do not have democracy in
And this
mind.
is how it
Well,
And
should
this is what we're
be.
also going to
some
This
see
is
is
how this is
we're going to see also what she does already, right? So Tesla is famous for saying that they spend $0 on marketing and advertising, right? That's in their SEC disclosure. Obviously, that can't be true. What do they use? Well, he has 80 million followers on Twitter.
Mhm.
So as Elon goes, so goes the Tesla, market essentially. So you're going to see a further erosion of having to label any sort of marketing or advertising statements. I'm guessing as properly, noticed, accordingly. That's going to further erode the sort of consumer confidence in the sector I think that he's trying to build up, unfortunately, because
Right.
as it is now, you can't. I mean, he is a bizarre personality. He is who he is. But I mean, to say that he doesn't use that platform for marketing and advertising is
Oh
just
yeah.
patently
He uses
false.
it to post images of Hitler. So the
no,
thing
no,
that Jim was just saying,
but
though,
it's not marketing and advertising. I want to be really clear about this. This is important. He uses it for financial fraud.
Wait, yes.
Fraud.
Jim, what I'm saying is
He
when he
fucking
releases information
he
about Tesla, right? That's the only place he told his board there's no other place you're gonna get information, only from my Twitter feed. That's it. So
yeah,
He
well,
manipulated the price. No, he manipulated the price of crypto the
yes,
day before the liquidity tests of a bunch of hedge funds, causing them to lose 17% of their holdings. Like, he manipulates
his
markets. The man is a lawbreaker.
well,
his entire Twitter account is designed to manipulate markets so that
yeah.
he can add more zeros to his fucking bank
Hmm.
account.
Hmm.
The guy
he
wants
did it with
to
the
own
acquisition of his Twitter.
everything.
I mean, he did it with this
Yes, the
purchase.
156
Yeah,
million that he, yeah.
yeah.
So also the phony ass botnet followers that are like this, adoring devotee cult, that's all not real, as we know. It's so gnarly. So speaking of the PayPal mafia, but I want to make a point to what Jim said. When we see these things happening, we are not hopeless and hapless. Byline Times was created by a punk rock frontman and a playwright because they did not trust the media to hold their government to account in the UK. So they started this reader funded badass newspaper. We have the opportunities to do the same where we can start something that is organic and grassroots and inspired by a response to these gamed and infected and Russian investments in a lot of these platforms. We know they're not trustworthy. We know Silicon Valley has, you know, basically looks to be some big crazy Bernie Madoff style Ponzi scheme. So we have, we have our work cut out for us, but it gives us opportunity. But speaking of the PayPal mafia, Peter Thiel calls Warren Buffett a sociopathic grandpa from Omaha and
Mm.
Bitcoin's enemy number one. When I see a headline like that, I see a desperate man. I do. Their friends are getting arrested and indicted. We can draw a straight line from Malafiev, who was just indicted by our Justice Department, who his employee is currently in prison in London. We can draw a straight line to the basically pre-scripted laws that Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida. These guys are all networked together, and their bros are getting arrested. So you see headlines like that. They want these rackets to continue for a bit longer because I think the jig is up on these guys personally. I think now it's just a
Uh,
matter of time.
I agree. I mean, as I keep writing, like the fifth column is no longer clandestine,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But I don't think it's going to be a trivial matter, right?
No,
Because we've
it's
got
not.
30% of the people in the country who are at some level brainwashed into, really, really dangerous shit, right?
Right.
What does the name
Now,
change into if it's no longer
I
fifth
think
column?
that
Yeah.
I think Putin did I mean, it's hard to find a silver lining in the atrocities he's committing. But I think the world, including some people who may have been sort of like in that netherworld between realities, may have been like, wait a second, that, even for me,
Yeah.
murdering women and children in
Right.
cold blood on the street is not
Right.
something that I can ascribe to. Unfortunately, a whole shitload of people, it's just fine with them.
Yeah.
They've absorbed the fact that
Mm.
Putin is their BFF, and it's okay if he murders thousands of people.
Your 12 Angry Men Substack today was fucking brilliant. I see your
Uh,
hand, hi-fi. I had to get
oh,
that out because I think it's something everybody needs to read. Jim, put the spotlight on 12 angry men in
Mhm.
this world. And if we can neutralize those bastards, we actually have a chance of seeing our way out of this. And some of them, I think, have committed enough acts of corruption, enough money laundering, enough fraud, where now it's only a matter of time. I go back to the Byline Times story that ran today that Shar Norris and I wrote through the night. She with her coffee at 8 a.m., me at midnight reading indictments and typing in quotes from our friend Marty and Craig Unger. But read that because these guys roll in the same circle. They're all bros. There's a bounty on Mogolovich's head. Malafia, they just took $10 million out of a bank account in Texas. And where was the shell company that was cover for this? In Seychelles. Who
of
goes
course,
to
which is
Seychelles to meet
where
back channels? Eric
that's where
Prince.
Prince met fucking the financier, Putin's
Bingo.
financier in early 2017.
Mm.
Bingo.
Like this is it's right in front of us. And now it may have been 12 angry men, and it was, and I'm happy to name them. But speaking of criminals, there's five in the middle, right? It's going to be hard to get Putin and MBS and MBZ and fucking Mercer and Koch. Those are going to be
Yeah.
hard,
Yeah.
hard targets to bring down. But the five operators who have been committing crimes for fucking 6 years should not be free. And it's
Yeah.
really simple.
Right.
Mike Flynn,
Right.
Eric Prince, Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, and Peter Thiel. These guys
Trump
have committed
committed.
so many crimes across
Yes.
so many different
Yeah.
people. They've hurt so many people. It's absolutely astonishing that they are still walking free.
Trump
Regardless,
committed
if we
pardon
can get
fraud.
those five people in prison or at least neutralized and not creating systems to brain fuck people into being fascists, then
Yeah.
we might have a chance. I think Putin is his days are numbered. I don't know what that number is, but I don't think he's
Not
going to
soon
last
enough.
through this mistake.
Yes. High five.
Two things.
It's
Uh,
always two things.
yeah. Well,
I love
I try
it.
to
I
hold it
love
to
it.
two.
That's because he raises his hand and doesn't get
Oh,
his
it's the
fucking.
cutest thing in the world.
Always
I
too
love
All right.
it.
fast.
So,
Every time.
the first
What
one
did Connor
is.
say?
Sorry, what'd you say, Sean?
I was just making
What-
fun of you. Never mind.
Okay, that's all right,
That's all right.
dude. I'm used to it at
Connor,
this point.
come back.
Um,
Come back.
so the first one is the atrocities we've seen in. I've heard it pronounced Bucha. I've heard it pronounced Buka. Uh, but what has happened is that German intelligence has captured communications that show that it's quite possible that the atrocities were pre-planned, and that our least favorite, most god-awful mercenary group in the world, Wagner,
Mm-hmm.
had some part to play in them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that one. The second one is, I don't know, man. Robert Mercer and Peter Thiel, they just hooked up with, what is it, the Rockbridge Pact?
Mm-hmm.
If there's money flowing through that coming from dirty places.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I think that we don't. I think that we underestimate how desperate these guys are, and I think that that's part of the reason that they are doing things overtly now, because they know that time is running out, and we need to be desperate too. I mean, we're going to do a recap of some of the recent stuff we were talking about, but I am heartened by the marching orders from Nancy McClain. Today is a great example, and yesterday is a great example why it was so flippin' important that we all showed up and voted in 2020. We did what no countries can do. We voted out an autocrat in the middle of autocratic capture. We gave Trump the boot. He shouldn't have been there to begin with, and we should have fought harder to prove that in 2016. Nevertheless, he didn't get a second term, right? We got Joe Biden in. And because we got Joe Biden in, yesterday, two of the worst oligarchs on two of the worst people on planet Earth actually got served yesterday by our own Justice Department. That only happened because we voted Biden in. And guess what happened today? Something happened that I can't even talk about because I will start crying. Supreme Court. Something happened today. And it's a
Goddamn
big
right.
fucking deal. Yeah.
It is a big deal. Here's
Yeah.
it is so, bittersweet, right? Because she is going to be, here's the good news. She's going to be an anchor, as I wrote, for good for 30 years. I mean, she's young. She's going to be there for a long time. But she's going into a court which is, run by religious fanatics and fascists.
Inauthentically appointed by an inauthentic president. We have to
Absolutely.
keep
And
hammering that.
and we have got to correct it. And really, as I keep repeating, until we deal with 2016, until we understand how artificial and inauthentic the last 4 fucking years were,
Yeah.
we're not gonna solve anything.
Yeah.
High
That's
five.
right.
By the
Oh,
way, can I bring up my favorite 2016? My favorite 2016 is actually Exodus 2016. Thou shalt not bear false witness. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, the things you've said publicly, if I was one of those people she named, I'd be suing the living crap
Yeah.
out of her.
Yeah, she a
Did
troll.
you see her file something against Jimmy Kimmel? Did you see that?
We can't take a joke now.
The police reports, because of threatening violence, and she's got all these tweets about hanging Nancy Pelosi. And anyway.
Yeah, that's what
Let's talk about weaponizing cancel culture.
Yeah,
right?
hypocrisy's
Trying to-
baked in with them.
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
Well-
real quick, I have to mention to the chat. I usually respond. I can't see you for whatever reason. I'm on the iOS platform, so if you guys are chatting in there, I can't see it. So forgive me.
I
Yeah,
wanted,
let me
I
see what
had
we can
something
do
in chat.
about that. Are we able to
I'm just
I,
saying
Yep.
I
I have,
can't. Well, yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Nope.
I just wanted to say, speaking of the chat, one of the people in the chat is my friend Gal Suburban,
Gal,
Hey,
and
what's up,
Gal.
Gal?
Yeah.
We love Gal. Gal's
Gal,
great.
Gal
Hmm.
and I had a 2 hour conversation last night for my podcast, which I am still editing.
Oh, nice.
Right
Yeah,
on.
Uh, but
sweet.
Right
I want
on.
everybody to listen to that because it's crazy. Like we talked about some crazy shit.
I bet.
And she's in Florida,
Gal's been
correct?
looking at dispensationalism,
Can't
which is
tell.
sort
Don't
of
tell anybody.
the predecessor of Seven Mountains dominionism. In case you guys
Ooh.
don't know what Seven Mountains dominionism is,
Yeah.
basically all the bad end times Christian shit. Um, they break the world down into seven
Education,
pillars,
entertainment.
seven
Yeah.
mountains: government,
Right.
education, media, arts, entertainment,
Yeah.
religion, family, and
Right.
business. Wait,
Yeah.
that's more than seven. That's eight.
Sounds
Right.
about right.
What?
So somewhere in there. And the idea is that um, Christians have dominion over all of those things.
Ordained by God. Yeah.
Moreover,
Yeah.
the end times, the rapture,
Yeah.
won't happen until all of those things are taken over.
Right.
So it's basically setting up an ideology in which, in order for you to be saved,
Yeah.
you have to literally infiltrate every element of society and take it over with one religion. That's the
Mm-hmm.
whole basis of it. And
Yeah.
so much of the shit out there is based on these ideas.
Yeah.
And Gal introduced me to this specific version of it, dispensationalism, which basically takes the Old Testament and treats it as a literal document. And the basic
Yeah.
idea is that when the end times come, everybody is going to go towards Jerusalem, including Russia from the east, which is what they're doing now. Um, and they're going to converge on Jerusalem. All the dispensationalists are going to rise up, like literally rise up into the air and look down while everybody else gets slaughtered. And it's going to be awesome because that's what happens when you're a good person is you get to watch people get
Mm.
slaughtered.
Yeah.
That's
You
the whole
prophesied.
point. I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
you high. Give me a sec. So it's really important that we understand that the doomsday shit that's behind all of this comes from um, greed, and it comes from sociopathy, a lack of giving a fuck about human beings. When you combine sociopathy with a quest for power, you get fascism, which is what we have right now. So
But Jim, they care so
anyway,
much about people that they
I
don't really
wanted
give
to
them.
kind of just give that little introduction, and I hope you guys will listen in because Gal is a genius, and follow her on Twitter,
Yeah.
gal_suburban.com. Go high five.
One, we should have Gal on our show sometime. She doesn't have to turn her camera on. She
Mm-hmm.
can just come on and talk because she's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
All right.
she's great. Yeah.
Two,
Yes.
how is it for an agnostic? I know more about this stuff than like these hardcore Christians. All right. So what Jim was just discussing with Russia coming down from coming to the south, and then you actually have it's the Gog slash Magog scenario in the Bible. It's Ezekiel 38 through 39, Chronicles 5:4. What is it? Yeah, it's this whole. There's actually maps. Like there's maps of these countries are going to do these things, and like there's some of these Christians actually ascribe the dust up between Armenia
Hmm.
and Azerbaijan recently actually opens a land bridge for Russia to move south militarily, but their military just got chewed up in Ukraine. So good luck.
I just was
Anyway,
flashing back when I first became friends with Hi-Fi. You know, we call him the gurgle teddy bear. the Google teddy bear. But when
Gurgle,
he and
the
I first
gurgle
became
teddy bear.
friends,
Did
we
you say
would literally
Goebbels
be
teddy
on the
bear?
phone.
A g-
Gurgle,
Yeah,
Google. I just like
Google.
saying gurgle because
It's
it's more
like
fun.
the gurgling
Not
teddy bear
gurgle.
spoon. Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Hmm.
No, but we would have these like 3 hour long conversations, which were just so amazing. And I learned so much, and I still do. I always love how much I learned from all you guys, really. I do want to say that we had our first breaking news special uh, earlier this week. We had a very important guest on, the executive director of Equality Florida, Nadine Smith. She
Hmm.
man, she
has
was amazing.
been fighting. She's been fighting Ron DeSantis's surveillance state, censorship state. As she noted, his don't Say Gay and his other shite bills are like cookie cutter coming direct from right
Copy
wing
paste.
think
Yeah.
tanks.
Yeah.
We already know that those right wing think tanks are, in step with the Malafievs of the world and
Yeah.
the, Dugans of the world. So now that I see this, and of course, our other guest, Nancy McLean, oh my God, now that I've read her book, I feel like I can see all these pieces of
Yeah.
the puzzle coming together. These guys know they're not liked. They have to stir up culture
Hmm.
wars in
Yeah.
order to get into office. And what pisses me off more than anything was that the traditional Republican, as we talked about with both guests, had an opportunity back in 2015 and 2016 to fight this beast. And they didn't. They took the cash, they didn't tell the truth, and now they are being devoured by it. Nadine's own words, also in line with what Nancy said. And if we don't all show up at the polls and
Two things.
crush
Yeah.
these QAnon freaks and all of this shit, we are going to get worse than Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's
Well.
what's been predicted. One more thing. Nadine said they've got three potential presidential candidates.
Hmm.
Ron DeSantis, Rick Scott, and Trump potentially, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they are trying to out fascist each other right now. They're
Yeah.
trying to see who can be more brutal, who can go lower. Nobody wants this. Nobody
I want
wants
Nadine
this.
for president.
I
Yeah.
know, she's amazing. I found out
mean,
that
I swear to God, I would follow her into anything.
she's
She just
amazing.
inspired the shit out of me. Just
She's
amazing.
amazing.
I actually
Please
just
spend a
used.
half an hour.
Who's up?
Sean,
No,
you're
go
up.
for it. High five.
Heidi,
Okay.
Heidi first.
I was gonna say just real quickly about the new GOP in the sort of circles that I sort of listen in on sometimes. They're discussing the
Yeah.
new GOP, and this is metaphorically, but the new leader of the GOP will be a Dave Portnoy. Barstool Sports will be that type of a figure. They're not
He'll
saying
be
it's
in
him, but
prison.
it's going to be the person
Yeah.
who's charismatic and who discusses only social policy things and nothing else. And they're crafting and they're looking for that type of personality to come out and not just Marjorie Taylor Greene's like the little sort of test run. There's no policy; it's all social commentary, and that's the model that they
Yeah.
put
Well,
forth
as
in the
Jim
voter.
said, they're just going to ratchet it up and ratchet it up and ratchet it up.
Yep, that's right.
The further right they can go, the further extreme they can go, they're going to go. Yes, hi-fi. Were you doing baseball signals there?
Oh, so
I
many
know.
things running through my head as Sean is talking.
Yeah,
God.
it was frightening. That's right. At first I thought
So
they were
Dave
literal.
Portnoy. Interesting thing about Dave Portnoy, he actually fits into a profile I've been putting together of these people,
Yeah.
and one of those things is extreme misogyny,
Mm-hmm.
to the point that there
Yeah, he's
are
gross.
harsh accusations against him. The second thing is a venue for money laundering, and that would be Barstool Sports. I don't know. You'd have to look at all the transactions, but
I'm sure you'd
online
like to.
gambling,
Yeah.
online gambling is, yeah.
Yeah.
I can
I
tell you
wanted
from
to.
firsthand.
I wanted, since you brought up misogyny,
Yeah.
another little some self promotion. I did a little a podcast about Gamergate and how basically, you can look at almost all of the sort of major trolling operations and the kind of negative shit online. You could trace a lot of it back to Gamergate, almost all of
Hmm.
it,
Yeah.
really. A whole bunch of it split off to the left into Chapo Trap House and the really really angry dirtbag left types.
The
Um,
left.
a bunch of them siphoned off to the right to create the alt right,
Mhm.
and the really really good ones went off to create MAGA 3X and groups like that. MAGA 3X in its founding documents basically says out loud, we come from Gamergate, learn from Gamergate. Here are the things that Gamergate taught us. Make sure you do these things from Gamergate. Like the guy who was in charge of Twitter, basically, he was called the General with two A's of Gamergate because he literally learned how to do it in Gamergate and was one of the primary guys. So it's really important, I think, that everyone understand how deeply misogyny, that
Yeah.
that hatred of
Yeah.
women
Yeah.
is deeply in this. And I've said this before in the show, but I want to say it again. It's important. Red pill, right? Everybody thinks of red pill as just this sort of like, okay, I'm gonna red pill you into QAnon or my
Hmm.
whatever Trump shit, right? Red pill was a group on Reddit that was an incel group aimed at torturing and tormenting women online.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what it was. And it morphed over the years into being a more generalized form of brainwashing.
Yeah.
But the seed of it, the DNA, comes from hatred of women by angry, pathetic men.
Yes.
And
Well,
and and
yeah.
it's not that everybody who's trolling now is doing it on the basis of misogyny.
Hmm.
I'm getting targeted by this same exact kind of thing, but it's
Hmm.
the way they were trained. They were trained in this grinder of hatred, and
Hmm.
it was originally all about women.
Well, I want to say three things before it evaporates from my brain. One is that unfortunately, I have firsthand experience about the rapey pedo culture baked into online gaming. It's all I can say about that, but it is a fact. Um, Also, if you guys took an opportunity to read Portnoy's defense of the sexual abuse accusations, where he showed his own text messages, you will see a very grotesque individual, in my
Hmm.
opinion. So the
Hmm.
defense messages were so grotesque and so misogynistic and so awful that to think of him running for anything other than running directly into the Huskow is,
It's
that's
frightening.
all I can see. The
It's
other
He
frightening.
thing,
interviewed Trump. If I if
the
I if I
Yeah,
if I'm not incorrect, he interviewed Trump in the White House.
I think that's right.
well,
Yeah.
birds of a feather. But I do want to say the big high concept of everything you're talking about is control and control of
Mm.
women. And that is a fascist, authoritarian playbook MO. Why do you think all these states have all these shite laws about abortion and whatnot? Should I not talk about this? Do you have a guest in the room, Sean? Do you have a little guest in the room?
Oh, he's got
Oh, did
headphones on.
I've
he
got my
just muted
headphones on.
himself?
Did that
Oh,
mute
okay,
him? Yeah.
good. Yeah, I just want to make sure. I want to be sensitive if we have a little person who showed up. So one of the things that I've learned from Ruth is that whenever you see these laws, like you're seeing in Texas and you're seeing in Florida and you're seeing them in Oklahoma, and yes, you can marry, you'd have no marrying age, but you better not get an abortion unless you're on your deathbed, and even then, Jesus will save you. It's like it's just about control. So much of this is about control. So I just wanted to
Yeah,
make
I
that
mean,
point. That's kind of the wraparound point.
you remember the dude who said that the best form of birth control is aspirin,
Yeah,
right?
I
Because you
know.
because
That's
you put
saying
it
anything.
between your knees,
Hmm.
right? Like that fucking guy.
Yeah.
That was remember the outrage about that? That's so quaint at this point, right?
I was gonna
Now
say
they're
it's like
actually
Mitt
taking
Romney's dog.
away the actual rights of women in Texas. Like they can't get like women's healthcare services in a giant fucking state bigger than most countries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
And
Oklahoma's
that's
Right.
real. That pain is real. Those
Yeah.
women's health is
Yeah.
being genuinely
Yeah.
risked. And it's just the Supreme Court, listen to me carefully, is going to kill Roe v. Wade. They are going to do it
That's what they're
next year.
installed for. That's why they're there. Hi-fi. What were you gonna say? I'm figuring out which
Okay.
direction to point in.
It's so hard to yeah. All right. So Ohio has just introduced a law that basically does what the "Don't Say Gay" bill is, but they went and added race on. Right. These people are
Something.
culture warrior berserkers. They
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Ooh,
know
I like
what is
that.
going. I don't know what is going on with them.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to outright
That's the
each other.
strategy. That's what I'm saying. That is now the strategy.
Yes,
The policy
because they're all
discussion.
going to run for president.
It's only social issues.
Yeah,
That sparks
that needs to be
sparks
stopped.
the base every time. That motivates them. That angers them, and then they
But they have no policies. They have
That doesn't
they
matter
have
anymore.
nothing substantial to
You
offer.
have to let that
anyone.
go. You have to let that go, man. That's not. They're not going to discuss that. That is not issues.
The Republican Party is never going to have a policy again.
They're not going to discuss that.
I need one big thing we got to figure out as a.
It's freaking you out, man. I know. I see it. It's freaking me out too.
We don't have a two-party system
policy
anymore.
discussion. Yeah.
No, we have one party for democracy and the other
anymore.
is a fascist.
Yeah. It's
the
like
GOP does not exist anymore. Nancy McLean said it on our show. Please watch the entire episode. The GOP no longer exists anymore. The GOP that her father was a part of no longer exists anymore. We have to accept that
it's
fact,
a cult.
and we have to call it's a cult. It's Fifth Column. It's QAnon. It's whatever is extreme that has no place in American politics. But the good news that we always have to remember, because I need this for my own soul, what happened in Florida? Parents at a conservative school called Nadine in Equality, Florida, and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe what's happening here." They don't want Ron DeSantis and his shite surveillance bill that harms children and children's families to be used as a prop. And so it's mobilizing people. It's mobilizing young people who already can't stand them. What did we learn from Nancy McLean? We have the numbers. And as she said, I'm sorry, I don't care if you're tired. I don't care if you're bitching about gas prices. You better start working, campaigning, getting out, getting the vote. And, the reason I'm so haggard right now is because that's what I do all day. And then I do all my investigative stuff at night, in the middle of the night, because I'm trying to be a warrior for democracy. And maybe that's not so sexy, coming home after working and reading indictments, but I think it's awesome. I do. It's the best I got. You know what I mean? This is what I got.
I'm haggard because I ate a gummy earlier. I ate gummies.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to be haggard for another few months, and then probably a few months after that. And maybe haggard will become my natural state. But even this haggard and beat up, I want to tell you guys a little anecdote. Old gal can still get hit on, right? And what happened the other day is somebody I met along the Politico trail.
This is good.
A fine gentleman, very handsome man, right? He tells me that he's a conservative Republican. So I say, of the traditional variety or the QAnon variety? And he says, Trump was my guy. And as Sean said, you didn't answer my question.
You didn't answer my question. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, QAnon variety.
He did.
Variety.
If you are still chasing Trump's ass around, At this point, you're
Yeah.
in fucking QAnon. I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
listen,
Yeah.
here's how you know, right? Is
Homie gets
because
no play.
Josh
Yeah.
Hawley,
Yes,
Josh
Josh
Hawley
Hawley,
and
totally
Ted Cruz fucking
embarrassed the
um,
shit out of him. Yeah.
it brought up the QAnon fiction
Yeah.
in a Supreme Court confirmation hearing.
Yeah.
Over and over
Like
and over again, over
let's
and
just
over and over again.
talk
Like,
about
Yeah.
how fucking dark and
Yeah.
cynical and fucked up it is to accuse Justice now, or will be tomorrow, Justice Jackson,
Yeah.
of being
Yeah.
soft on
Sounds good.
pedophilia
yeah.
and even verging on calling her a pedophile herself.
So
Yeah.
Jim, that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene does, right? So those guys
Well,
That's the
I
introduced it.
playbook
understand,
It's a
but
right
there's a
there,
trolling
guys.
difference.
tactic.
Wait. There's a difference between Marjorie fucking Taylor Greene doing
Yeah.
it, at a Matt Gaetz rally. I
Yeah.
really like.
No,
She's
no,
a fucking
Yeah.
you didn't
clown.
let me
It's
finish.
different in a Supreme Court
You didn't let me finish.
confirmation
Those they
hearing
introduced
nationally
the.
televised.
You didn't let me finish. They introduced that in the Supreme Court hearing, and then she goes out to social media and posts it. After they've relayed the message,
Exactly.
it's the
Yeah.
way that they disseminate it from this on the record, because that shit goes on the record. On the
Yep.
federal record now,
Yeah.
there's at least, and I saw Holly talk, he gave his speeches about it, he questioned her about it. He brought this up over and over and over again. So did Ted Cruz, who was in the same class as her in law school. It was mind-boggling.
I see this.
It's not mind-boggling when you think about it. This is a troll tactic. This is what they do. This
Yeah.
is how they appeal to the parental protection response in human beings,
Yeah.
right?
I've said it. Yeah, I've said it
But
before.
at the same time, let's keep this in mind. And Midas Touch actually had a really good little snippet movie where they highlighted, after I'm sorry, after I went dark on that last episode, but they did a much better job of explaining it. And then if you look at what's going on in Tennessee, where they had to backpedal on
Yeah.
trying to pass a law that allowed child marriage,
Yeah.
hashtag okay groomer.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say that Jim has predicted this ever since I've known him, that it would get more extreme, because these are those balloons that they float out there. How's this going to work? CRT and the agony that they stirred up over that will seem quaint compared to what may work next. But to me, I can't impart enough how I feel when I zoom out, as I often do, that this is the last gasp of the dying brand of entitlement among these greedy bastards. We now know that they've been doing everything they can to protect capitalism from democracy. So we have a very, specific, clear lens to see it through. And they don't have the numbers, which is why they have to stir all this stuff up. So
the
we
problem
can
is it doesn't
continue
matter.
to.
The numbers, like,
Yes, it does matter, because
I know it should, right? But you can't. But the reason why the 3%ers are called the 3%ers is because the American Revolution only had 3% of the population fighting.
Oh, I see.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
To them, it doesn't matter.
That is
However,
whether it's true or not. I'm just saying,
right.
like, we just because we have the numbers doesn't mean we're going to win.
Oh, not at all.
No, that's very true.
Yeah,
But
no, I think the
look
opposite
at
point is
2020. I just want to point this out one more time, because we have not been able to enjoy the fact that we have a woman of color as our vice president. We have an incredibly gracious president. We did that. We can do these things again. We just got to stop thinking that so many people are in despair, and they're pushed into despair as part of active measures, and as part, obviously, of the reality of Putin's war of annihilation. But we do have to remember that we are not weak. We are massive in numbers. People who are still, sane and still pro-democracy and pro-liberal democracy. We are massive in numbers. Yes, the minority can take over a country, and that's a very real fear, and that is what needs to drive us. But we can beat this back. We just have to stick together and show at the polls.
Unfortunately, that the outliers in those 20%, of each side get all the attention because it's the sensationalism that drives the
That's
clicks
right.
and the revenue for the media, and so all the little gaps out here at these sides get all the attention, and the middle, which is the majority of everyone else, sort of feels forgotten and sort of left behind. But it's the extreme ends get all the media, get all the attention, so people think it's this
We
big
have we
big
have
group.
to look. That convoy shit was a fail, right? The school boards thing. I mean, everything kind of died out.
Yeah, well,
Anti-vax, maybe.
It's still
Okay, okay, Jim.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying they're not going to keep on pushing and pushing and
All
pushing,
right.
but what I'm saying is, I don't look at them as having already won this war, and especially not after today and yesterday, when their friends are getting indicted and their money's being taken
Yeah.
away, and you can draw a direct map from Mogilevich to Trump and see where this is heading. So it
Mhm.
never comes as fast as we want it, but I am actually hopeful, but I also trust my bro Jim that we have to be vigilant and we have to work very hard to protect our democracy.
like on the school boards thing, that all of that sort of like all the people going to the school boards and attacking them and creating all of that churn and sort of violent, feeling about it was intended to scare candidates,
Stop moving
right?
your hands because I can't hear you. So
Huh? So
can you guys hear him?
no,
Yeah,
sorry.
he's
Yeah,
fine.
it's fine.
All the what the fuck was I talking about?
The school
The
boards
school
and the
Yeah,
school
ruckus.
boards.
sorry.
When they
It's
bring the
probably on
All the
ruckus,
my
you know
end.
they're
candidates
full of
that
shit.
that
Yeah.
all the fascist candidates got pumped up through that process and are now on the school board. That's
Mhm.
why I was shaking my head, is because it
Right.
was successful. It wasn't not successful at all.
Right.
It was successful in doing what it wanted to do, which was scare a bunch of normal people off of the school boards and
Mhm.
allow a whole bunch of crazy ass QAnon people onto the school boards. The real
Yeah.
damage that was caused, we're going to see next year when these new
Mhm.
nut jobs come in and start telling our kids what they can and can't read.
Right. What
All right,
I
we
Well,
want to
gotta.
see is what everybody on this show wants to see. I want to see incarcerations.
Yeah,
yeah,
you gotta wrap it
These
up,
people are
the
Hatcher.
corrupt.
attacks,
We
Yeah.
only have a
the
few more minutes
attacks on
anyway,
the
so
school board are indoctrination, right?
yeah.
They're taking over public
Yeah.
education. They've been
Right.
trying to destroy it for decades.
Mhm.
This is not a new thing. It's just an acceleration of the thing. Sorry, go ahead, Sean.
Oh no,
But
no,
we are
that
going to
was.
take it back, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
doing this
Yes.
show because I think we're going to lose. I'm doing
No,
this show
of
because you
course.
guys told me we're going to win. We're going to
Yeah,
fucking win. And it's going to take a lot of work. That's all I'm
Damn
saying.
right.
that's right. Yep.
All right, Sean, go.
Oh no, I was pointing to so we gotta wrap it up. I gotta close it out. Thanks
Yeah.
guys for putting up
Anyway,
with this.
thanks
I
for
can't believe it. I can't believe it
staying with
worked.
us.
We got it done.
Oh, yeah, we
MacGyver
did.
strikes
Next
again.
week, we'll have anagrams and video. We
We'll have a
promise.
normal production. Yes, we will. Yeah,
This is
without
just
Elon.
one
Yes.
more thing to blame Elon fucking Musk for. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna keep my
Word.
receipts for the Airbnb. See if he'll pay for the Airbnb.
Send it to
He
him.
fucking should, man.
I know, dude. All right, guys. I'll check you later.
All right.
Bye.